Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your obsession. I'm your host Eleazar, and today Steven is here to dissect Saw 4. When does the opening scene actually come into play? Who are really following in this chapter of the story? And do the twists improve on what came before? If you dare follow us, all links are in the description. Next week on the podcast, Lights Out. But until then, a movie replaced with your perception of events, Saw 4. Hello everybody, welcome to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host Eleazar. I'm joined again by Steven. Steven, how's it going?
Hey, doing alright, and we're here to talk about Saw 4, to continue our Saw discussion about Saw movies. These are really gory. That's all I have to say. Like, every single one.
Not the first one.
Gory. It's not that bad.
The first one, you don't see it, you imagine it.
Yeah,
you don't see him cutting his foot off.
Hear it, and, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But these are directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. He did 3 in a row, which is 2, 3, and 4. He definitely put his spin on it, and this movie goes a little bonkers with his cuts. So there's a fight scene where Rigg throws a woman through a mirror, and it looks like she breaks through into the police station where Detective Fisk is telling the FBI about fingerprints that belong to Rigg. Which is so funny because he's like, wait, we were in a fight in the apartment and now we bust through. There's another one, and we'll get to it eventually, where Saul stands up looking after his wife in the hospital, and he turns around and it's like he's looking into the interrogation room, and it's just funny.
Oh, yeah. All of the transitions on all of these Saw movies have been amazing. But yeah, I think this one is definitely best.
So if you had to guess, by not looking at the credits, who would you say is the main character in Saw 4?
Gosh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we've all can't wait to see everybody that's been in the previous movies back, right?
Yeah, and
Anybody.
John's not there.
But who are you following? But he's there a lot,
he's
actually.
there.
In flashbacks.
But
yeah.
That's true.
Who are we following this movie?
See, I don't know, because I'm so stuck on John just being the primary.
I feel like Rigg is the star.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at IMDb, he is billed 5th after Jigsaw, Hoffman, Strom,
and
Jill.
Jigsaw's first.
Yeah.
Which is John, right?
But this is the most he's been in an actual movie other than where he's not sitting around doing nothing. Because in the first one, we barely see his face and he's laying on the ground.
Right.
The second one, he's there the whole time, but he's sitting down the entire movie. And the third one, he's laying in the bed the whole movie. Even though we saw him die at the end of the last one, this is in the flashback. He's moving around and doing stuff in this movie.
Now that you're mentioning it, I do think Rigg is the primary guy,
which I think is kind of crazy.
Why is
he's played by Lyric Bent. We also get Tobin Bell back. Mm-hmm. We get Scott Patterson as Aiden Strom, who was in Gilmore Girls as Luke. He's like the main love interest that whole show. We have Costa Mandalori as Hoffman, Luis Ferreira as Art. He's been in Stargate Universe and Dawn of the Dead. We have Betsy Russell as Jill, John's really hot ex-wife. Donnie Wahlberg, of course, is Eric Matthews from New Kids on the Block and obviously Blue Bloods and other movies. And then Athena Kakanis as Agent Perez. She was in a movie called Survival of the Dead. So these have been low-budget movies, and this one had a budget of $10 million and has made $139.4 million. These movies just keep making money. Put out once a year.
I was just thinking about these characters again, and they could be listed in like order of appearance too.
Right.
You know, because we kind of open up in the morgue with John, right?
That's true.
In the beginning. So that could be, or
and we do see
Jigsaw,
Hoffman right there.
Yeah.
I don't think we see Jill right away.
Rigg doesn't show up right away. But yeah, he's definitely...
I mean, it could be argued that Strom is also a main character. We follow Strom a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of flashbacks of John Kramer in this one. It's definitely a crazily put together puzzle in this movie. And we get a flashback within a flashback at one point, which is hilarious. But all right, so the movie starts kind of with like a previously on. So following the events of Saw 3, we have the corpse of John Kramer, the Jigsaw killer. He's being examined in the morgue. And during this autopsy, they make a note of some sort of backdoor surgery happening or backdoor brain surgery.
I wanted to mention something here.
Yeah.
John is definitely dead now.
Oh, he's extremely
from the
dead
previous
right here.
movies. You know, there were times as a viewer I kind of assumed that he was dead, but he wasn't. and he was, suffering a lot during the last movie, but he's definitely dead now.
Right. So they open his body. It's a good wax figure. They open his chest the way it's really graphic, the way you're seeing all of the body parts come out, but it's just like any crime drama you see. They show that stuff on TV, and it's not too graphic because it's a medical procedure, right? But then Detective Mark Hoffman comes in. He's called the morgue because they found in his stomach a tape that we saw at the end of 3.
Yeah, he apparently swallowed it.
Yeah, he put wax over it to make it easier.
Body, yeah, and I think we saw that a little bit.
We didn't see him eating it.
Yeah,
but
there was some weird stuff going on with the tape,
right,
in the last movie.
So John on the tape says that Hoffman is the last man standing, and adds that he may be able to succeed where the others failed. Then it says he will be tested, and his work's not over. Just because he's dead, the game has just begun. So yes, like you said,
gosh,
John is definitely dead, and they killed him off in the 3rd movie of this amazing long franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So then we cut to a mausoleum. We have 2 men. One is named Trevor. The other one, let's just call him Speak No Evil for now. They're chained by their necks with a winch-like device in the middle of the room. Trevor's eyes and Speak No Evil's mouth are sewn shut, making communication nearly impossible because one guy can't speak to him and the other guy can't see what's going on. And he could speak, but the other guy can't reply. Yeah.
It's so creepy because they're sewn shut, and so...
So they start attacking each other, or the guy that can't see starts throwing like hammers and stuff at the other guy. And in self-defense, he ends up having to kill him to retrieve a key that's attached to Trevor's chain. He's able to free himself, and after he does this, he screams really loudly and rips his mouth open, which had to hurt, but I also want to ask, hey, why don't you start with that, Bozo?
He needed the motivation. He needed that adrenaline rush before he could...
It's like Highlander. He leveled up when he killed the other guy, and so he had more power now.
Yeah.
Shortly after, we see SWAT team led by Officer Daniel Rigg and Detective Mark Hoffman raid an underground area. When they see inside, Hoffman orders them to hold back until they can get a better view of what's inside, and they send in a robot that kind of reminds me of the Malp from Stargate SG-1. The robot's going to go in there and see if there's any bombs or anything, any traps really, because of all the traps every time SWAT run in there inside in a Saw movie. But that's when the robot reveals that Detective Allison Carey is hanging there. She's been missing for 4 days. And Hoffman orders Rigg not to go in yet, but he burst in anyway because Carey and him are friends. But he finds that she's already dead, which we saw play out in the previous movie. And we can see all of her insides here. There's rats in her body. Rigg tries to order them to take her down, but they say they can't because they're examining the scene. Hoffman asks if he's trying to get himself killed because he knows he can never go through an unsecured door. Rigg says he thought she was still alive and he could save her. Rigg talks about everything they would get to this point, and Hoffman points out that the writings on the wall in blood says cherish your life. Rigg wonders how they're supposed to live their lives this way. And in the commentary, Lyric Bent, who plays Rigg, said that he agreed to come back to this movie if Darren Lynn Bousman promised to not put him in a SWAT uniform for the whole film. And sure enough, in this movie, he's in a SWAT uniform when he's starting off. So Darren Lynn Bousman let him take off his helmet, but apparently he never filmed the scene where he took off his helmet. And they said in the editing room it didn't work. It didn't make sense how all of a sudden one scene he's got his helmet and then the next one he doesn't. So they had to go back to the set and refilm him taking off his helmet to make it work, which is just interesting behind the scenes stuff. But Hoffman tells Rigg to go home, and that's when Hoffman's called over because FBI agents Peter Strom and Lindsay Perez have shown up. They inform him that Carey was their informant inside the police department. They tell Hoffman that her last message was open the door and you will find me. And we see Strom swinging around a key that he tosses to Hoffman.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the key with the door message from Carey.
And what's shocking to me is I watched both the commentaries from Darren Lynn Bousman, who brought Rigg in to talk as well. And then I watched the one with the 2 producers, and then they brought some other people in as well. And they really hated this key concept here. They edited out any mention of the key and ever seen the key visually in there. They thought it didn't make sense and there was no reason to have it, even though it's a movie about puzzles and puzzles have keys, and I like this key a lot. And
there's so many other things happening here too, and I thought that really added to the scene. I liked it a lot. There are also some thoughts about how someone must be helping John. And I was thinking here Amanda could not have lifted that body onto that trap.
Right.
That
and
angel trap.
Hoffman tries to tell him that, well, John's got a big brain and he could have made a system of pulleys, but they're not buying in. And just to keep track of the key, Hoffman gives the key to Agent Perez here.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. We're at the police station. We see that Rigg did not go home, but in fact went to the police station and is watching an old footage of Hoffman interviewing Jill Tuck, who is John Kramer's wife. We got a flash of her when he was dying in the third movie, but really no answers. But here in this movie, we get answers. In the interview, though, Hoffman is showing pictures of Billy the Puppet and the tricycle. On Rigg's desk, we see magazines of John Kramer and the covers like Journal of Civil Engineering. On the tape, which is in the background, it's just in the back, and these are small little details, but I love them. Hoffman says, "Why don't you tell me everything you know about John, and let's start at the beginning." Jill replies, "John's life defies chronology and linear description." Then he replies, "Okay, why don't we start at the end and work our way backwards?" Which is a big freaking clue in this movie of what's happening here.
Did you catch they had this picture evidence of the tricycle and the toys?
Mm-hmm.
And she was asked about the picture, and she's like, "It's a toy. Kids play with toys." And they're like, how about the tricycle? The tricycle is for John's use. I'm sure you kept things that were important to you, like hinting it was from the past.
Right.
Anyway, thought that
is funny, yeah.
Brought up the tricycle.
So Hoffman walks in, pauses the tape, telling Rigg that it's vacation time, he should go home, finish his remodel of his house, and spend time with Tracy. He says he can't because Eric is still out there, but Hoffman says that Eric has been missing for 6 months and Carrie was only missing for 4 days. So basically, like, do the math. There's no way he's alive. When Hoffman finally orders him home, this is where the agents come in. Perez asks Hoffman what's Rigg's problem, and he replies that everyone around him keeps dying. So Rigg gets home and finds his wife, Tracy, who's packing to go visit her mother. She does invite him to go with her, but he declines.
He's really, just so involved in his work. I feel like he's neglecting his family a bit here. And Tracy says what you can't do is save everyone, trying to encourage him to come with her and do something else. I feel like a lot of men go through this in their lives, where their life's work becomes just so important and even more important than their family at times. And it's sort of sad, but also a reminder to try not to do that myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it. I work a lot too. Sitting at Rigg's desk, the FBI agents are studying the notes of the case. Strom wonders why Rigg would be watching Jill Tuck's interrogation, but Perez thinks that they should inform Hoffman of something that Carrie said in her last message. That's where we learn that 2 officers in the precinct might be in danger, but Strom says they don't have enough to go on and they don't want to cause a panic. Hoffman is there to ask how they're doing, and Fisk comes in to say that another doctor from the hospital is missing. Hoffman is holding a stuffed animal, and Perez asks if it's for a boy or a girl, and then she didn't know he was married. He says he isn't, and adds the line, "It's a short story, believe me," which is a weird line, but I think it means it's a boring story. Like, you don't want to hear it, maybe. We see Rigg struggling to sleep when he hears someone, so he calls out for Tracy. He searches, finding a window open, and is attacked by someone wearing a pig mask. This leads up into a transition of Hoffman closing an envelope, which we saw opened by Amanda in Saw 3. He picks up the stuffed animal, and we see behind him in the dark is a pig mask, and we get a sort of jump scare, camera shaking with music that makes it sound like something bad's happening to Hoffman. We see Rigg is passed out in a tub, and the shower is running over his body, which wakes him up. He sees on the door a big red question mark, and when he starts to open the door, we see it's connected to a wire, and he yanks on the door, I guess because he doesn't have much of a choice. But he goes through a door, although Hoffman told him that he should never go through an unsecured door, although I don't know how he would not get through the door. He's got to get out. But we see that wire's connected to a TV VCR setup, which starts a tape playing.
Yeah, it's just crazy how the pig mask showed up, and then the next thing you know, he's waking up in a tub.
Right.
Obviously abducted.
Oh, no. Yeah, but in his own house.
Yeah,
he's still abducted in his house. Like, we just need to knock him out long enough to set up this trap. So on the tape is Billy the Puppet, of course, voiced by Jigsaw himself, John Kramer. How does he do that? I don't know. Because he's dead. Rigg is told that his obsession with others around him making the wrong choices has prevented him from making the right ones. So he is going to give the chance to face his obsession. On the tape, we see Eric Matthews is alive, which behind the scenes was a big negotiation with Donnie Wahlberg to bring him back in the movie, and they didn't know until about a week before filming. I can't imagine the story without him, but they were ideas of who else would be on that ice block that Rigg was going to save. But unless it's his wife, really, there's not much of a reason for Rigg to go save a random person that we've earned, right? Like, he's been passionate about trying to find his friends in the previous movies.
That's true. It is focused more on his friends and his coworkers.
Right. So if Eric Matthews didn't show up, it would have been kind of crazy for him to just go save Hoffman, and maybe his wife would have made sense. But from the new tape, we can see that Eric is being held up by a chain from the ceiling, and we see sitting on a chair next to him is Hoffman, who was last seen in that jump scare pig mask. Jigsaw shows him that Matthews is standing on the block of ice, which is melting, and says that Eric has 90 minutes to save himself.
So Hoffman's alive and he's in a trap.
Right. With
Detective Matthews on the other side of this trap.
And they're like, their fates are entwined. Then the tape says, "Heed my warning, Rig. Their lives hang in the balance of your obsession. Will you learn to let go and truly save them? The choice is yours." The tape cuts off and he opens the door, which has another wire, which starts a big clock with big red numbers, which say 90 minutes. It starts a countdown. I know in Saw 1 and 2, we definitely saw a big red timer. I don't remember seeing one in Saw 3. I guess Jeff was on a 2-hour time limit, so maybe there was one. I just don't remember seeing it. In the living room, it's very dark, and there are pictures that are hanging. Many of them people we have seen in the franchise at some point, and we see one of them is Matthews and his son. He finds a person in a chair with a pig mask, which would make him think, okay, shoot them now, but luckily it's a woman in the chair. He doesn't shoot her. As the lights turn on, you see the chair is a trap, and we see a lot more pictures on the wall. On the wall is a message that reads, "See what I see." So this is his first test. Another tape plays telling Rig that it's his first test because the woman in the chair is in desperate need of help, but it's not his job to save her.
She's a sex worker, I'm assuming?
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's a pimp.
Oh, okay.
She traffics young women, and you see like clips of her.
That's right.
With like a teenage girl, putting a teenage girl in the car. But he doesn't know this, right? I mean, there's clues on the walls. So he works to save her. At one point, he just shoots the thing, which stops it for a little bit.
So the device is basically going to scalp her.
Yeah.
Because her hair's like wrapped up in the gears and it keeps going.
It keeps pulling her back. And he tries to get a knife to cut her hair, which would save her. But all the knives seem to be missing, and all scissors seem to be taken away from his house. So he does save her by finding all the numbers on the chair that have the combination, just kind of like the gas house from part 2.
Wow.
So he puts it together. Yeah, but once he gets her out, she starts asking, "Are you a cop?" And he says yes. While he's trying to figure out what's going on, she reaches for a knife, jumps out with the knife. It's got a big G on it, and she starts to slash at him. This is where we get one of those transitions where he throws her through a mirror, and it looks like she goes into the police
perfectly into
station.
The police office.
Right. Where Fisk is talking about matching fingerprints. But we cut back. Her scalp is bleeding a lot. He's confused why she's trying to kill him. So in self-defense, he basically has to shoot her. That's where he notices the big capital letter G on the knife.
I was just thinking, it looks like he's been set up. You know, his fingerprints are all over the place. Yeah, there's shots in his apartment. He's shooting her.
So he finds a card that says, "One saves a life, one takes it away." And inside, it looks like one of the photos like Jeff got with his components of the gun. But this has 2 keys in it. One of them is for the Alexander Motel, room 261. And another small key on a chain, just like the one that Strom showed Hoffman. We cut to a very green-looking room where Matthews and Hoffman are trapped, just like we discussed. One detail we could see here now is that it's like a seesaw. So as weight gets off of that ice block, Hoffman's chair goes down, and we see that if it gets down far enough, a electric wire on the chair will touch the water, and Hoffman will get electrocuted.
Yeah, because that ice block is melting this whole time.
Right, these 2
so it's
big
getting smaller,
heaters.
Less weight on that side of the seesaw, and it's getting all of the water down in the electrical wires.
They both wake up. Matthews looks pretty bad, and we get some flashbacks where we left off. So after his fight with Matthews, he's drugged into a cell elsewhere in a tunnel. John sets his foot in a device, feeds him what looks like slop, and he's now wearing an orange jumpsuit like he's a prisoner. There's a scene with him petting a rat, which according to Bousman, Donnie Wahlberg wanted them to cut from the movie, but he did not. Then we see the door open and the lights turn really bright, which hurts his eyes because he's been down there for months. And that's when it brings him to where he's hanging in this room now. So Riggs' house, the SWAT team is there. They find Brenda dead. The FBI is there as well. Because Perez finds pictures of Matthew and Hoffman, they ask Fisk to locate him, and he tries calling, but of course no one answers. Perez and Strom look for other clues, and with all the pictures, Perez sees it as Riggs is trying to save his own friends, but all the evidence seems like he's being set up. That's what Perez thinks, he's being set up, while Strom thinks he's pretending to be set up so that he has an alibi. One message on the wall says, "See what I see," and another one says, "Four walls build a home." This leads Strom to see that among the pictures of Jigsaw's victims is a picture of Jill Tuck on every wall. So Strom orders Fisk to bring in Jill Tuck. We go to her work. They bring her in for interrogation, which we saw Hoffman interview her earlier, so that same room. There's a small scene here where Strom unloads his clip from his gun so that he doesn't go into the interrogation with a loaded gun, but we never see him empty the round from the clip, so he's got one in the chamber, I think. But Jill,
good point.
Yeah, Jill obviously is over this bullshit, and she wants to cut to the chase of why they brought her here, so perhaps she can leave sooner. Back with Matthews and Hoffman, we see another guy walk in who has a 6-shooter and sits at a desk with several monitors with a big red countdown clock on it which says less than 53 minutes left. This is just like Zepp in the first movie, who sat with a bunch of monitors with a big red clock going.
That's right.
At the Alexander Motel, we see a man at the desk who will come to know as Ivan is kissing his dog named Chance. The dog was played by Darren Lynn Bousman's real-life dog.
Oh, okay.
Rig walks past the front desk, ignoring Ivan, and another man looks up who was sleeping and starts yelling at Rig for yelling at him. The dog was also edited out for the theatrical release, and it seems like another time where the producers seem to go out of their way to remove anything that Bousman loved, because who doesn't love a cute dog? And it is the reason that Ivan goes up to the room. In the theatrical, it feels like he goes up there to look for Rig and is kidnapped, and they cut out the dog completely. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the dog was cute. Why not keep him in there?
I thought there was something wrong with this front desk clerk. He's shouting at Rig for, looking at him. And
no, it's the guy in the chair.
Oh, okay.
The guy in the chair was shouting
at
him.
The guy that was next to the front desk clerk.
Right.
It was crazy.
In real life, that guy, I think, was a comedian. The desk guy.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so Rick goes into the room with the key he's given, and inside he finds a photo of his wife with the words "She needed you" written on the back. He then sees a box with hair sticking out, but luckily it's not a human head inside. It's one of the pig masks inside, and a tape recorder, and a picture of Ivan.
Phew. Wait a minute. Who's getting abducted now?
Well, obviously it's Ivan. On the tape, Jigsaw tells Rig that in order to see things his way, he must feel what he feels, which is written on the door in red. He tells him that the man in the photo is desperate need of help, and in the next room are the tools for his salvation. It goes on to say that his life is in Rig's hands, but only he can save himself. He says that there are cameras watching, and he must hide his identity.
I think he's about to discover something big when he goes into the next room.
Sure.
Suspense has been building, and we don't know, but as you said, it's probably Ivan, the guy at the front desk.
Right. So when Rig comes out, the man is still yelling about Rig, claiming that Rig is bothering those who are trying to sleep, but Ivan points out that the man is the one bothering people.
He's crazy.
And he cannot sleep there, so he kicks him out. There was apparently a bigger part for this guy that was kicked out of the building, but they never filmed it. It was cut from the script earlier.
What would he have done?
I have no idea. Yeah. Okay. While this is happening, Rig is able to convince Chance to come to him, which in turn makes Ivan come after the dog, so Rig kidnaps him. Back with the interrogation, Strom tells Jill that the photos were found at the crime scene along with the phrase "Four walls build a home" and "Cherish your life." That brings us to a flashback with John where we find out that "Cherish your life" is the motto to her clinic that she works at. We see a fight break out between Gus, the guy from Saw 2 that was shot in the head through the door, and Cecil, who is a bigger deal in this movie.
This was one flashback here.
Yeah, and we get pieces of it
so many flashbacks
through the whole thing. But I'm gonna break down kind of all the cameos that I noticed. I think there might have been more, but in the clinic we have Troy, who was the classroom trap guy with the big thing through his chin and all through his body. We have Gus, as I said, from Saw 2. Michael Marks is played by Noam Jenkins. He had his head in the Iron Maiden trap in Saw 2 with the key behind his eye. Producer Orrin Knowles. He was the guy on the floor that Amanda had to kill to get the key out. And then Mike Butters was the guy in the razor wire room in Saw 1. All these people were in the clinic.
Oh, yeah.
And they got the real actors back.
Yeah.
So that begs the question. So before it felt like Saw, like they had this overarching vision of the city and he was finding the lowest of the low to teach them to be better people, right? But this movie would imply he just looked at all the people hanging out at the clinic who were already trying to make their lives better.
Cherish your life.
Because they were at a clinic, right? And that's who he picked. So I don't know. That's kind of funny. So back to the flashback. John steps in before Cecil does something stupid, and Cecil leaves Then out of the flashback, Strom is threatening to charge Jill as an accomplice to all the Jigsaw's crimes. Strom then asks about John's workshop, which leads us to another flashback where we can see clearly that Jill is pregnant, walking into a new space that John has set up. John shows Jill a clock with the inner workings that are 300 years old and are still working, which I wish my car had that kind of lifespan. Jill notices that John is hand making a crib, and he pulls a much smaller version of Billy the Puppet, which is like a cute wooden doll intended for his child, which we do find out is named Gideon. Back to Rig, who hands Ivan his own prison photo, and Ivan says it was a long time ago, and he paid for it. Rig gives Ivan the key to open the other door, and he instantly doesn't want to go in. And inside, lit in red like a 70s porno, are hanging pictures of previous victims.
Yeah, so apparently this guy Ivan at the front desk has been maybe raping and abusing women in this porn room.
Yeah, definitely, right?
Inside the hotel. Yeah, that's like a hidden room. So that begs the question of how did someone even find out about it? How would have John have even known?
So, and we will get to it. He found out via his lawyer. Because who's Ivan's lawyer?
Yeah.
We'll find that out, right? Okay. But the pictures are of Darylyn Bousman's girlfriend, his assistant, and his lawyer. He took photos of them and made them the rape victims in this room. Like, you want to be in a Saw movie? like, that's kind of weird. Inside the room, the TV is showing a live feed of Detective Matthews before the TV changes to this creepy rape tape that Ivan recorded. In the bedroom is Ivan's trap, which Rig is told via another tape to put Ivan in, and he has to save himself if he is to save Matthews. So strapped on the bed, Ivan has to push two buttons, which activates the device, which gouges out his eyes, which he says have led him astray. If he doesn't do it in 60 seconds, he will be dismantled by the contraption.
So he's blinding himself.
Right.
And then with the potential that his body's going to be ripped apart.
But the instructions take forever to read, right? And the timer started when he started reading the instructions. So he's not done with the instructions until 30 seconds is left on the clock.
Do you think it's possible that he could have ever...
He could have hit them both at the same time, but then maybe but that thing went so far in your head, the blade was like 4 inches long.
Yeah.
I think it would have gone into the brain and killed you anyway.
So it was almost like set up to where...
He couldn't possibly.
Ivan would have died regardless, which would have psychologically affected Rig.
Yeah,
you see
I
where
agree.
I'm going? Like,
I do.
So this is just messing with Rig because he's trying to save people, and obviously this is set up to where there's no way that he could ever have saved Ivan.
So this scene is really graphic, and so as the Saw movies go on, I would agree that they've gotten more and more graphic, right? But this definitely is. Before Rig leaves the room, he sees another card that says, "Become a teacher and save a life. Go back to where it all began." This seems to be something to Rig because we go into a flashback where he's talking to a girl at school who Rig believes is being beaten by her father. Unfortunately, the mother covers up for the father, and we can't get anything out of the girl. And you see the father doing this little like finger wag at the girl, like, no, don't say anything. But then when the man comes out really smug about it, he puts his hand on Riggs' shoulder, and Rig is so pissed off that he turns around and hits him in the face, breaking his nose. Hoffman breaks it up, but the father's ready to sue. So we cut back to Strom, who's asking Jill why she left John, but she said that John left her first. He says that relationships end all the time, but John started massacring people, and she says that Gideon's death hit John really hard. He doesn't understand that the name Gideon is their unborn child, and she goes on to ask Strom if he knows anything about the Chinese zodiac, because Gideon's birth wasn't random. John planned everything always, especially the birth of their child. Which seems like, did he want his child to be born in the year of the pig? I don't know. We cut to flashback where Jill's letting two people out of the clinic. As previously mentioned, these are Orrin Knowles, one of the producers, and Mike Butters. That's Amanda's first victim and the razor wire guy. While John waits outside, he's propositioned by Addison from Saw 2. She's the one that got her hands up in the trap to get the syringe, and both hands were stuck because if she pulled them down, razor blades were going to cut her. She comes in, basically, we find out that even though, yes, in the second movie, a guy unfairly was calling her a whore, maybe he knew her from the street, because sure enough, here she's asking if John needs company for the night. John is offended because she's right outside of a clinic where people are trying to better themselves. Then we cut to inside where Jill's locking up. This is where Cecil bangs on the door saying that he forgot his jacket. She lets him in. He pulls a knife on her so he, I guess, can go steal drugs. But he runs back out. He slams through a door, smashes against her pregnant belly, which starts bleeding. John sees Cecil running out and knows something's wrong. He runs in to help her, rushes her to a hospital, and the nurse that helps him when they get there is the same nurse that gave Dr. Lin a pep talk in Saw 3. Still in this flashback, we cut to after Gideon has been lost, and Jill says she wanted to help people, and John says that she cannot help them and that they need to help themselves. The scene ends with another crazy transition as John steps up and turns around and he's looking into the interrogation room, and the scene continues without John. Just as Strom is telling Jill that he isn't buying her story, Fisk comes in and says that he needs to look at something, and we cut to Strom looking over Ivan's ripped apart body. One of the SWAT guys comes in to tell the FBI that the room has been rented to a lawyer named Art Blank. That's the first time we hear that name, who has gone missing for 2 weeks. Perez starts sounding like Jigsaw, saying that the victim did it to himself, but Strom points out that this was all a test for Rig, showing her the pictures of the rape victims. She admits that they enrage her, which Strom says is the point of the trap to enrage Rig, and they seem to be thinking, or at least Strom seems to be thinking, that Rig is being recruited by Jigsaw.
Yeah, I definitely think that Jigsaw's been messing with Rig's mind the whole time.
Right.
Like even before this movie. Yeah. They go to the house, the missing lawyer's house, right?
Right, and they find out that he owns a building 2 blocks away.
Uh-huh.
Keep going.
And then he booked the motel room?
Yeah, so it was...
The one that Rig had gone to earlier.
That's how they found his name.
And has listed... Anyway, it's bizarre how that all kind of came together. This reminded me, like, when each place that Rig's going, there seems to be, like, a clue on where to go next and what to do next. And it's just, like, leading him.
Sure.
When we were kids, there was this book that my second grade teacher read us by this author named Peggy Parrish. It was a children's author. And it was called Key to the Treasure. And it was about how this older relative had left an envelope with, like, a clue to the next thing that the kids had to find, because he had to leave. I think he was going off to war or something.
Right.
And then, unfortunately, he lost his life at war, and the envelope was destroyed. But the grandchildren come, and they actually found one of the clues, and it leads to the next clue, and then the next clue. So we used to play this game as a kid,
right,
where we'd, like, leave clues, just like Jigsaw's doing, but less morbid. You know, it'd be like leading to like a really cool prize at the end, like candy or whatever.
So you talking about that reminds me of Ivan Asimov. I can't say that right. The author who wrote this series of books where he predicted the actions of humanity over thousands of years, and he would hide these treasure troves of what humanity needed 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 1,000 years from now, and somehow was able to save humanity throughout the time. Jigsaw seems to be this kind of omniscient sometimes, where he knows that Rig is going to go to one place and the FBI is going to go to another. Because when they get to this building owned by Art Blank, they find 2 folders.
2 manila folders with "Open the door and you'll find me," and "You are in danger of getting too close. Step back."
Right, and Strom pulls down a camera, which... he replies that they're the 2 Jigsaw targets. So they think that Strom and Perez are now the targets of Jigsaw. We cut back to the ice block where Eric Matthews decides that he's done with the game. He says, "Fuck you," and steps off the block ready to end his life. As his weight is gone, we see Hoffman end is moving closer to the wire, which we could see is connected to the high voltage wall. The guy that's watching over them in the monitors puts Matthews on the block, telling him that Matthews' life is connected to his. Then they reveal his face with the scars on his mouth, and we see that that guy is the guy from the mausoleum that so far we've called Speak No Evil, which Hoffman recognizes. So we cut back to the abusive father, who Rig had punched in the face, and we have a transition to his lawyer, like if he was there, even though he wasn't there in the scene, where his lawyer is ready to sue, and we have a scene where Hoffman is defending Rig, because basically we know that that father's a piece of shit. And so while obviously covering up cops' actions are bad if they're abusing people, this guy was beating the shit out of a little girl, so it's hard to blame Rig for hitting him. But so now, because of that, we realize that this lawyer is Art Blank. So Art Blank is representing the abusive father, and Hoffman takes Rig's back and defending him. So he basically gets suspension with pay. Then we have Rig arriving at the elementary school where this whole abuse thing happened, and we find Rex, that's the name of the father, and his wife Morgan are in a classroom, kind of like how Troy was in a classroom. They are chained back to back with rods impaling through their body. When Rick finds them, Rex has already succumbed to his wounds because the skewers had pierced through his major arteries while only piercing through non-lethal parts of Morgan.
But I thought that Morgan had to pull out the stakes, though, for Rex to die fully. He was still conscious.
Right, which is crazy to me because all of my medical training says if you get stabbed with something, don't pull it out until you have medical help. That's why he died. If it was stuck through his heart...
Stop the bleed, right?
Right, wait for the medical people to come. But her pulling it out, yes, made him die faster. But it should have made her die faster, too, because she's got all these open wounds that would have bled out, too.
I thought this was the most gruesome scene
It's
in the
pretty
movie.
tough.
It was
And
pretty nasty.
even though Rig's supposed to let her save herself, he does pull out one of her last spikes, and she says thank you. But he gets a clue that what he's looking for is off the map, right? So he realizes the projector is displaying a map of the human body, so he looks behind the projector, and he sees another picture of his wife with a message that says, "Go home," with that capital G that was on the knife. So he pieces together all these G's were left for him, and he figures he needs to go to a building that we only see part of the building's name is Gideon. Because Morgan is cold, he leaves her his jacket, along with a key telling her to let herself out and telling her to save herself. On the way, he pulls a fire alarm so people will come rescue her. On the ice block, Matthews is begging to be killed because he doesn't want to play anymore. Shortly after, the police, alongside Strom and Perez, arrive at the school in time to save Morgan. Strom figures that Morgan killed her husband, and Perez says that Morgan gave Rig credit for saving her. Perez gets a call that tells her Brenda, Ivan, and Rex had committed various crimes, but were all successfully defended by the same lawyer, Art Blank. So that's the connection. And that's probably how John found out about these people. It was all through his friend Art Blank, right? Well, we'll find out later that they're friends. Because here they find out that Art Blank is also Jill Tuck's lawyer. One of the forensics guys is dusting the instrument used to impale the metal rods, and he accidentally sets it off, shooting one right through the head of a crime photographer. It almost hit Perez, but Strom pulled her out of the way. Then Perez gets a text that Jill Tuck co-owned a building that is this school, which that doesn't make any sense.
Jill Tuck was in real estate with the lawyer.
And so was John. We know he's been in real estate.
The school property, yeah.
But it's like, who owns a school? It's not like weird? The city.
It's not
I don't
like
know.
The city it's not the district owned.
So they go and investigate the school. They go their separate ways, but then they wind up together because Strom points his gun at Perez before he realizes it's her. But then they both at the same time find Billy the Puppet with another tape player.
That's crazy. Yeah, Jigsaw's Billy's at the crime scene, but in another room, right, at the school.
Yep, and so they go in, and she very cautiously pushes play on the tape, tells her that soon Strom will kill an innocent man, and warns her next move is critical. She kind of ignores this warning because they hear whispering, so she gets close to the puppet to try to listen, and that's when the doll's face explodes, injuring her through the face and neck with shrapnel. There's also dust, so I don't know if that dust might have been somewhat poisoning. I don't know.
I thought the eye movement of Billy the Puppet was great. And the noise definitely grabbed her attention. The eyes movement might have grabbed her attention, but it definitely brought her in, and then she was injured.
And then Billy laughs at all the shrapnel because he thinks that's funny. As the paramedics take her, she gives Strom the key that was given to them by Detective Carey. Matthews appears to have a heart attack, and Hoffman calls Art over. When he gets over there, we find out it's a ruse so he can attack Art. Art is able to get him back on the ice block and tells him to stay alive because if the clock counts down, when we see 19 minutes and 33 seconds are left, Art tells Matthews if the other guy passes his test, the three of them can go free. Art says that one final task. He hands Matthews a 6-shooter and hands him one bullet telling him, live or die, you make a choice. At the station, we see Strom calling Perez's mother to tell her what just happened because he's obviously upset. He starts throwing files around, but this leads him to noticing the same building in the photos, which he gathers and takes to Jill. He tells Jill that he is looking for Art, and we see that he doesn't even notice the building. He just grabbed the photo because it was John and Art shaking hands. He also asks about the doll and the tricycle.
Yeah. What's with the doll? What's with the tricycle? It keeps coming up.
He gets very aggressive, and Jill asks what happened between John and Art, which leads us to another flashback where Jill and Art went to his studio. Art's asking about a project that they were working on together because a lot of people are counting on them. John wants him to take the buildings and finish them with Jill, but Art says that John's designs are what makes the building special. He even mentions there's 20 low-income families or something like that are waiting on him. Might have been 40. I don't remember the exact number. John's over it, though. He tells Art, fuck you, get the fuck out of here. Art's like, who are you talking to like this? It's me, John. And he goes, you heard me. Like he didn't even finish this in a second time.
It looks like John's kind of going insane, though, because he's like so hyper-focused on what he's doing. And Art's sort of aghast at discovering everything that's going on. I think Jill is, too.
Right. Jill says that John blamed her for the death. And then after that, he got diagnosed with cancer. So we see him walking into Dr. Lauren Gornitz's office, although we don't get a Carrie Ellsway's appearance. We get some quick flashes of the car crash that we saw earlier. When John got out, he was a different person. We see her back in the workshop, and John has a lot of pictures of Cecil and some drawings of some new designs he's making.
Yeah, totally sus.
When John appears, she asks him what he did to him, and he says he taught him not to take life for granted. Then we get the flashback inside the flashback where John is editing tapes while we see how he is following Cecil. Cecil walks into a street festival for the Year of the Pig.
Oh, the Year of the Pig. Cecil was born. You mentioned this earlier.
No, that would have been. It would have been.
But how old was Cecil?
Oh, I don't know.
When he died.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
but it's the Year of the
Cecil's
Pig.
birth. He's planning Gideon's birth.
And the Year of the Pig's when Cecil died.
Right, but he conveniently grabs this pig mask. He grabs two of them, one for himself to disguise himself, and he puts chloroform in the other one to knock him out in broad daylight. When Cecil wakes up, he's strapped to a chair. John's telling him that he's going to give him the tool to reclaim his soul. But Cecil's like, I don't have a fucking soul. John talks about how life isn't fair because you can live by the rules, be a good person, and get killed while doing a good act, and others can lie, cheat, and get elected. He tells him that in order for Cecil to stay alive, he must match his face to the ugliness of his soul. This is historically his first trap. The first time he tells someone live or die, make your choice. And while we saw him recording the tape, he never uses it because for Cecil, he used his own voice to explain the trap to him.
Okay, so I might have got that wrong. I thought Cecil was their son.
No.
But
Cecil's
Cecil's
the
drug addict that killed
right.
his son. I apologize for that.
You're good. Okay.
So,
where are you going with that?
Yeah, but the Year of the Pig's when the son died, basically.
Yeah, but he was almost near birth.
Oh, okay.
Right, but she looked 8 months pregnant.
So basically, the Year of the Pig was when the son
was planned to be born.
Was planned to come, yeah. So I think you're getting at this, but basically Cecil was the first victim.
Right, and the trap was this wooden trap in a chair. It had these 4 or 5 knives on each side, which he had to press his face against to push against a thing that would release the trap. But if he didn't, there were blades in his wrist, and he would slowly bleed to death. He tries it like 4 times before the chair just falls apart.
But he has to press hard enough on a knife to release it, right?
Yeah, so but in the end, that's not what broke it. At the end, the chair just fell apart before he reached it. Yeah. But he's so pissed off at John, he lunges for John, who does this like a matador maneuver with a bullfighting. He moves out of the way, and Cecil falls into a trap of just a bunch of barbed wire. And so he presumably just laid there, screamed until he bled to death. So we're out of the flashback within the flashback, just to the first flashback, where Jill is asking John what happened to him. John answers by destroying the clock with a mechanism that lasts 300 years. John tells Jill not to come back. She tells him that she lost Gideon too, and she walks out. John pulls back a big sheet to reveal like a casket made of glass with like big lights in it. And there's a lot of glass broken in, which we'll come to in another movie.
So I wanted to make a point here that I think has been brought up in previous Saw movies, that John didn't actually kill him. He just sort of
kidnapped him, stabbed his
let
hands.
Him into some
they would have bleed
barbed
to death.
razor wire.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Back to Strom, who leaves with the papers, and then he sees an article talking about John and Art building homes, which he remembers for a while to build a home, which was a clue early in the movie. So he runs back to ask where the first building that John owned was. That's where we get the flashback of the building that says Gideon, and we could see in that flashback that the next word on the sign is meat, which is a big clue to where they're heading. So here we go. Rig goes to the Gideon meat plant and finds a card in a box just like the ones from part 3. This one says, patience. Remember who you are saving. Time is on your side. But he doesn't understand what that means. We see Matthews with the loaded gun, and we look up as Art does, and we see two massive ice blocks, which are attached to metal arms on the ceiling. Matthews definitely sees this as well, and we follow a chain that is holding them in place, connected to the door which Art came in earlier, which is not an error because we see when Art comes in, he had to flip a switch to activate this trap. We also see outside the door reads final test, and the windows are so dirty that you wouldn't be able to see it from the inside or see the inside from the outside. Art tells Matthews that he better hope he doesn't come through that door, and Matthews starts screaming, "Who's coming through the door?" We watch Riggs continue, and Strom arrives at the meat plant, who calls for backup, giving the address 11235 Lake Drive. They tell him to wait 2 minutes for backup, but he says he doesn't have 2 minutes and walks in alone. Strom starts to go the same way we saw Rigg go, but he hears a noise coming from the other direction, so he turns and goes the other way. So Riggs went forward, Strom kind of went towards the right. Rigg walks into a hallway with all these messages on the walls and a clock that shows him that he has less than 4 minutes left. Next to the clocks are IDs for homicide detective Eric Matthews and also Hoffman. Their IDs, they're in a holder, and the left side of the holder covers up the name of the city because they never named the city, and all we can see is it says Metropolitan Police Department without seeing the city, which I think is clever the way they did that. And then there's another card that reads, "Have you learned how to truly save a life?" We see both detectives continue. While Riggs runs on the other side of the building, Strom finds a key with a very small picture of a 4-person family on it. Art is getting nervous and removes his hat and jacket to reveal that he has his trap strapped to his back, which looks like it might sever the back of his neck and paralyze him, but that's just a guess. And just in case the audience didn't get it at this point, the movie shows us that he's the guy from the mausoleum, which I guess some people might have forgotten about it because it was so far in the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What new we see for the mausoleum is that he got a packet of instructions for his next step on the test. All right, so get ready to have your mind blown because we watch Strom as he's searching, and we see not too far from him is the speedster himself, the fastest man alive, Jeff. Just kidding, because Jeff is so fucking slow. This confused a lot of people, but the movie here is showing us the events of this whole movie, except for that very opening, are happening at the same time as the final act of Saw 3.
Movie, yeah.
Right.
And so I was a little bit confused there. Yeah, why were Dr. Lynn, husband, John, and Amanda there? John was dead in the morgue in the opening scene.
Back to Art, we can see that he has less than 2 minutes. Rigg is almost at them. On the monitors, he can see Jeff and Strom as well. Art can. So I get really excited at this part, because as Jeff walks in, he can hear Amanda saying, "Fix me, motherfucker." Jeff slowly approaches the room. We hear where the backdoor brain surgery happened, and Strom is not too far behind. We see Jeff as he sees Lynn and calls after her right as she is shot, and as a reminder, Amanda wasn't looking when he shot her. She was looking away, which left it open for Jeff to shoot Amanda because it was Amanda's test. Back with Art, who pulls out the device with a button that will release him once the timer's up. We cut to Jeff and Amanda after Amanda's dead and is killing John with the buzzsaw, and Lynn tries to warn him not to kill him since her life is tied to John's. This is all happening from Strom's POV, and we see the door shut, which did happen in Saw 3. That door shut on him. As Rigg arrives and screams for Eric, Eric is yelling back not for him to open the door, and with 2 seconds left on the timer, he busts through the door. Matthew shoots him. Rigg shoots Art, who's coming at him, and we watch as the trap comes down and smashes Eric Matthews' head. And I just really wish before he had died that he would have known his son was safe, because I don't think anybody ever told him.
Nobody, yeah. None of this would ever happen.
Right. Behind the scenes, though, it was like a week before filming, before they knew he was going to be in there. He agreed to come back in the movie as long as they didn't leave him lying on the floor for the whole movie. And so he was hanging the whole movie. But they filmed all the scenes in just 2 days. And so if they ever needed to do a different shot from far away, they could just have a stand-in person.
Which reminds me of how he had to lay on the floor for, what was it, 6 hours?
6 days.
6 days, that's right.
Like 12-hour shoots for 6 days. But not
crazy.
just him. They got people, the guy from Saw 2, to come back and lay down on the floor.
And that was
the beginning
Tobin
of Saw
Bell,
3.
right?
No, that was. I'm not talking about that now.
Yeah.
But yes, that was Tobin Bell on part 1.
Laid down for 6 days.
In part 2,
spilling.
Amanda's laying down for a big chunk of the movie before they wake her up. And then in part 3, at the beginning, when Aaron Matthews is still in the bathroom, they brought back the guy that was cutting off everybody's flesh for the numbers because he got killed in that bathroom. They brought him back in to just lay on the floor, and they told him, "Oh, you're gonna be like Tobin Bell. You just lay on the floor." And they paid a lot of money, and you might see him for 3 seconds in that movie. But anyway, that was a lot, right? So we see that Hoffman's part of the trap is lowering the electricity, but we cut to Strom very cautiously open the door, which I guess counteracts Riggs because he's not so cautious. He remembers the clue, "Open the door and you will find me," and it's crazy to me that the producers edited out this whole key in the theatrical release because I love this key. When he goes inside, he tells Jeff he wants to see his hands. Jeff points the weapon at Strom, demanding to know where his daughter is, and Strom doesn't know that Jeff's weapon isn't loaded, and he shoots Jeff twice, killing him. Which is what Billy the Puppet said earlier, that Strom would kill an innocent man, though Jeff did just kill John Kramer and Amanda, so I don't think he's really that innocent.
So Jeff was Dr. Lynn's husband, if I remember right.
Right, that's correct, yeah.
And it's crazy that he killed Jeff.
Strom then sees Lynn, Amanda, and John's dead bodies on the other side of the building. Riggs pissed because he still had more time, because you can see on the clock it's stopped with 1 second. Riggs blames Art for all this, and Art tells him Jigsaw is testing him. Art reaches for something to show him, but Riggs shoots him in the head, only to see that Art was reaching for a tape recorder. The epic music starts playing, because it always does. I love this music. As Art's final act was to push play on the cassette player, and it's a message from Jigsaw. He is told that if he's hearing this, he reached Detective Matthews and Hoffman under the 90 minutes, resulting in their deaths. The rules were very clear, and he was warned. And then we get a series of flashbacks explaining everything to the audience. We see earlier how Hoffman is telling him not to go through the door, and later when he told them that he should never go through an unsecured door.
It was all a game.
We see his wife telling him he can't save everyone. We hear on the tape Jigsaw ask if he can let go, and Hoffman also telling him that it's time to let go. Jigsaw adds that they had to save themselves, and we see how the traps would have been set up. Brenda tries to kill Rigg to save herself. Ivan had to gouge out his own eyes to save himself, and Morgan had to kill her husband to save herself. Then the tape says that time was on his side. Instead of saving Detective Matthews, he cost him his life. Jigsaw says he failed his final test. That's when Rigg is trying to stand up, and we see that Hoffman is standing behind him, revealing that Hoffman was never in any danger and is also an accomplice of Jigsaw, which is bonkers wild. Then we get a flashback of Hoffman's involvement. Carrie and Riggs talk about how Jigsaw couldn't have hooked up Troy, and he's there making a face like, of course they could. Then we see where Strom said that Jigsaw had an accomplice beside Amanda Young. We see that Hoffman wrote the note to Amanda, or at least stuck the letter in the note, which she opened and started crying over in part 3. We replay a clue about another doctor going missing from the hospital, which we assume was Fisk talking about how Lynn had disappeared. Now we have another doctor disappearing. But if we remember, Dr. Gordon Lawrence is also a doctor that went missing from the same hospital. So Lynn is the other doctor. I was wondering that.
Yeah, so I had this as a question to you because there was an announcement saying that there was another doctor missing from the hospital. And I was wondering if Dr. Lynn was that missing doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we see in the camera shake jump scare pig mask behind Hoffman that we were tricked by the camera movements, and Hoffman just turns around to grab the pig mask so he can go kidnap both Carrie and Rigg. Out of the flashback, Hoffman leaves the room, leaving Rigg to die because he was shot, and gets to deliver the line, "Game over." He then walks over to the other side where Strom is, shutting the door and turning out most of the lights. He removes the key and walks away. Then we hear the tape from the autopsy at the start of the movie where Jigsaw messages Hoffman, which tells him that Hoffman will be tested and the games are not over just because he is dead, because the games have just begun. And so we know that there are 10 movies in this franchise, that's definitely a true statement. Oh my gosh, that was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Would you say
Hoffman,
that this twist was crazier than the third movie's twist?
I thought this was the biggest twist I've seen thus in the franchise so far. Yeah. Anyway, what did you think of this movie compared to other... You've seen all the movies in the franchise.
Sure.
I haven't.
In this order, for the longest time, I used to say part 2 is my favorite. And I do because I like a group of people working together. But in the rewatches, 3, I get so passionate about Jeff and his wife and everything that went down and how Amanda was tested. I love it. But then in this movie, while I don't feel as much of a connection to Rigg, I do love the twist so much. that it felt like the movies are just up in their game. So I don't know. 4 is amazing. I don't know if I like it better than 3.
Yeah.
But that twist blew my mind. And a lot of people left confused about what was going on.
I was very much confused. I had to think about it a lot, ask you questions. I thought this movie had some really great quotes.
Yeah.
Like when Cherish Your Life was written on the wall in red, I think it was Detective Hoffman that said, how the hell are we supposed to do that when this is our life?
Right.
And then I think Officer Rigg responds with, it's our nature to save them. It's what we do. Which I found ironic because his wife Tracy tells him, like, what you can't do is save everyone. And he's like, this is our nature. It's kind of not necessarily ironic, but maybe more of a paradox. Like, he's just kind of stuck.
I do love where Hoffman tells Jill, okay, let's start at the end and then go to the beginning, which is how the movie is filmed. Mm-hmm. It's so good. It's really good.
Yeah. A couple of things really bothered me in this movie.
Yeah.
As how Rigg just like jumped into the game and started playing. And he didn't contact anyone. He didn't try to work with the other
if he took a nap,
officers or go with Tracy, and his family.
That's true.
But like he just starts playing the game.
Well, okay, but is this bullshit, right?
It's too late.
If 2 tests are happening at the same time, he's telling Jeff that he needs to hurry up and make decisions the whole movie. Hurry up, because if you don't, this woman's going to freeze to death, and he doesn't hurry and she dies. Hurry up, this guy's going to be twisted in this trap if you don't decide to save him, and he's not fast enough, and the guy gets twisted around and dies. The whole movie, Jeff is told to hurry up because he's so freaking slow, right? At the same time that trap is going on, he's telling the other guy at the same time, please slow down, you're going too fast.
The other guy being Rigg.
Yeah. Right? Because these are happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine if they swapped places?
Oh my gosh.
Everyone would have lived.
I just felt like if Rigg would have communicated better, like even the part where it sort of bothered me, the police immediately go after Rigg on fingerprint evidence that was in his house. But they could have just, that could have been planted. And they overlooked the tapes at the residence, which would have clearly shown that he was set up. It felt like things were just progressing too quickly, not only with Rigg, but the whole police force and how they were approaching this.
The tapes were made to self-destruct like in Mission Impossible.
But we don't know.
I know. That's just stupid.
To me, they were still there.
You're right. That's a good question. That is a good question.
Just maybe
I forget. You've seen the next one, yes?
I just wish Rigg had sort of slowed down and started communicating, because I feel like they could have worked it all out.
I like this theory if we swap Rigg and Jeff. Everyone would
that's
have
good.
lived.
This is a slow and fast guy.
Oh, man. You've seen the next one?
No.
You haven't? Okay, good. All right. I can't wait to do that. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This has been Nightmare Echoes. We have new episodes every Monday. Thank you, Stephen, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. All right, so we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye. Oh, I wanted to ask if you're going to go to SawCon. Have you heard of SawCon?
What? Is that coming here to our area?
You could sock on these nuts.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
It's like a bad dad joke.
It's a bad dad joke. I've heard it all over the internet. I was like, remember to ask about SawCon. It's so bad. All right.